Well, it has been another deadly day in Afghanistan. Massive car explosion here. It has killed 13 people, including several foreigners, on a main road that was leading to Kabul's airport. Now, this latest attack, it comes as NATO halting most of its joint missions with Afghan soldiers. The coalition says it's because of heightened threats due to the controversial anti-Islam video making headlines and causing protests across the globe. It also comes in the wake of a rise in so-called green on blue or insider killings. That's where Afghan soldiers suddenly turn on NATO allies who are the ones training them. That includes, of course, American troops. So far this year, 51 coalition troops have been killed in these so-called green on blue attacks. Now, because of these heightened concerns, coalition soldiers and their leaders took really an amazing step today. They will no longer go on joint patrols with the Afghanis unless a senior general gives them permission. Still, NATO suggested the only permanent change in policy will be more extensive vetting of Afghan forces who work alongside the NATO troops. Joint patrols, they have long been seen as a crucial way that we're going to train the Afghan forces so that they can learn and be able to take on the Taliban element, let alone al-Qaeda elements, on their own after the U.S. leaves in 2014. But I got to ask a basic question, Don. If we're no longer going to go on patrols with them because we can't even trust the very guys we're training, imagine one of us has a son or daughter there that loses their life between now and 2014. A legitimate question I'd be asking is, for what? And I'm not some dove here, okay? I believe in military, certainly when it comes to Afghanistan, but at this point, why?
It's an excellent question. A very good question.
I'm glad I asked it.
Young people dying, you know, you talk about this every day, the amount of young people that, kids straight out of high school, you know, they haven't even really started to live, and they're fighting for something that they have no idea. They know they're fighting for the country's interests and so on. But there's also the argument, Richard, and I have to put it out there, that Americans are hurting here. So why spend all these billions on a war that many people feel is unwinnable when Americans are hurting at home? That money needs to be spent here, domestically.
I got to say, just in review, that the initial mission to Afghanistan, I was totally behind. I mean, that's where they were training to attack us on 9/11. And I'm certainly not putting down any of the service of any of the soldiers or NATO officers who have served on the ground there. But we've done everything that we could possibly do there. All that we're staying there now is to make sure that we don't somehow lose any of the gains that we think that we've made in the last several years, or to make sure that the Taliban doesn't roll back into place. But that's going to happen when we leave anyway. And you know, I've been saying this for a few years already now. The purpose of our mission there, we've already exceeded it. We've already gone past what we intended to do. It seems like we're just there for the sake of being there, so that we don't have some sort of PR nightmare when we pull out and the whole thing, you know, somehow crumbles down. But you're asking the right question, Rich, which is, how do you tell the last soldier, the last American in Afghanistan, how do you tell the family of the last dead American soldier that their fight was worth it when we're just going to come home a couple of weeks after that?
The surge seemed to work when we did that. Just like it worked in Iraq, it seemed to work where there was tangible gains in some of those provinces where there was a lot of both Taliban presence and also even al-Qaeda elements that were there. But it's like with everything, it's mission creep. It's just, it changed, you're right, everything you say, but we all know what it is. Nobody wants to have an acknowledgement that all the billions we spent here, all the lives since we went over and took the top leaders that went into training have gone for naught. I do know, though, that it's funny, some of the people who most vociferously defend this are some of the people on the ground who, it's not some number, but it's a face and it's a person to them who they're fighting for. The girls going to school for the first time. The idea that finally there's some infrastructure, they're fighting back in the elements.
But as soon as the NATO troops aren't there, those gains are going to go away anyhow. Because unless there's a guy with a gun
I gotta
there.
tell you, for the first time, Andrew, I'm agreeing more with you than not, and I think that's a sad testament to where we are in Afghanistan.
It is very sad.
All right, now before we end here, I want to leave you with a story that I think we all not only can get behind, but should also aspire to. It's why exactly the decision to remain at war is so real and so pressing. You got a wounded soldier, one of many, but this one from Huntington, New York, and he lost both of his legs in Afghanistan to, of course, those roadside bombs. Well, thankfully, his community decided to more than just feel bad for him. They decided to chip in and to help him out. While he was recovering, the town of Huntington, they teamed up with a Long Island-based Building Homes for Heroes to make sure that Byler's Homes, could meet his needs. The $250,000 home remodeling project, it was paid for entirely through donations. Town officials say a small army of volunteers helped to get the home ready in time. The home, it took just under 6 months to renovate, and we're going to leave you now with this story.
It means that my community, my town, my tribe is behind me. They support me, and they want to make sure I'm taken care of. So I absolutely feel the love.
Two crisp Marines showed up on our front door in the dark, October 17th, and we were given the news that James had been severely injured. But for a few seconds, I thought the worst. So hearing that my son was alive was good news. And I haven't